Go ahead and get started here in just a moment. I want to make sure that Bill has clicked the record button, so we're retaining this for posterity's sake.
We are good to go.
Good. And I see that Scott Tarpley has arrived. Scott, are you able to communicate with us? Scott, are you able to comment?
I am here. I just got on, so I didn't
Okay.
hear anything to comment about, but I just pushed the button.
Got it. All right. Glad to have you on here as well.
Thank you.
I'm Dick Wagner, and primarily moderating this short segment today will be Bill Giannone. You can see by my picture, those of you that know me, I'm a little older than that. So thank you, Bill, for putting a nice younger picture of me up there. Today, what we wanted to do, especially for all of the CREST members, which I can say we're pretty pleased to have so many different CREST members across the country and in all 4 time zones part of our program. Because of the obvious COVID-19 pandemic and I'm going to mute somebody. Scott, there we go. Sounds better. Because of the COVID-19 pandemic, as they've called it, or the coronavirus, and how it impacts the restoration industry, especially how it impacts your particular contractor business. There are a number of things that have come up. We've all had many calls, and we're going to be doing a follow-up to this as well. So, Bill, I want to just let you take over and go ahead and talk about this.
I appreciate it, Dick. Thank you. And thank everyone for joining us today. I know how busy and crazy everybody's lives are at this current moment, especially those of us in the restoration industry. There's just a lot going on, and we have to try to mix our business and personal times into one and try to make things work here in a period of a lot of uncertainty in every aspect. So thank you very much. We don't want to spend a lot of time with you guys today. We just want to share a little bit of information with all of you, more so to help protect yourselves, not just individually and your families, but also as a business. There's a lot of urges right now for people to try to see how they can help out, and whether it's in the most magnanimous ways possible to help our neighbors and our communities, or if it's in a strictly financial business way to capitalize on what's going on. Just want to make sure that everybody is fully informed before we take that first deep step into what we're going to do. There's a really short explanation of the COVID-19. I think most of us have probably had this drilled into our heads over the last week or so by the media. Anywhere you look, we heard all the different terms: coronavirus, COVID-19, Chinese virus, if you're listening to the president. Lots of explanations. Just understand that when you hear it, it's all referring to the same situation. Sometimes they're referring to the virus itself. They're referring to the disease that the virus causes. We all understand what that means. What I really want you guys to understand is what it means to your restoration company. Because in essence, we are cleaning companies. We go in and we clean up. So something like this seems like it would be a really natural fit. There's an opportunity out there for all of us, if we have the right idea, the right mindset, and the right training, to be able to go out and help our neighbors out and really capitalize. So I just want to take a moment here, and on behalf of Dick and Scott and everybody involved, I want to just make sure we all understand. Let's pause for a second and take a really hard look at not only the rewards, but the risks involved. Okay, we're going to start with the easy ones. We're going to start with the rewards. Because normally when we see opportunity, that's where our mind always goes first. We always go to what are the things that we can do that are going to be really good for us and for our companies. As good corporate citizens, we want to be able to help out our neighbors and we want to help them stay safe. So obviously, helping our communities is a very high priority for us. Dick, being the marketing expert, can talk to you about how being able to help your neighbors out in times of need really translates into an incredible marketing foundation for you to build off of in the months and years to come. Dick, do you want to give a couple words about that?
Keep going. I'm sorry. I was.
No problem. No problem. Yeah, just suffice it to say that the more we can help out our neighbors now, the more they're going to remember it in the future and be able to send more business our way. The second part about the opportunity is that there's quite a few companies out there, and I've received word from several of our members where the phone has started to slow down a little bit. And this is just a natural reality. With the uncertainty and fear out there, there are going to be clients that would ordinarily call us to take a look at something. And now, because they're either fearful of what's going on in their own lives or they just don't want to, present the opportunity for others to come on in, we're going to be having situations where people might decide to clean up their messes themselves, or maybe not call us for that mold job that we were going to be doing for them this week. So the phone may quiet down a little bit. And if we're able to put our crews to work doing some cleanups and doing some disinfections, that would certainly help us keep our guys from looking for other avenues of work. So that's obviously another reward if we're able to get into this marketplace. And then finally, I leave it for last, but it's usually first on all of the owners' mindsets. It's a way to make money. We've heard the expressions mold is gold, and we know that every time a hurricane hits, half the country thinks they're all going to go and come back multimillionaires. And Scott can tell you many stories about how that never works. But it's just a natural instinct that when we see a time of crisis like this, especially when our industry can be part of the solution, our natural instinct is to run towards the problem. But let's just take our chances and see where the risks are first. I know this isn't something that we all want to do, but I'm asking you guys to put your foot on the brake before we put the car into drive. And let's wait and let's take a look at some of our risks. First one I want to highlight is our technical risk. As of today, there is no specific protocol in place for disinfecting, treating, or killing the virus. There is a general procedure for cleaning that the CDC put out just recently, which addresses how to clean an environment where there is a person living who has tested positive. It's a very general recommendation for a cleaning protocol, but it does not mention anything about killing or treating a property prior to the positive testing of somebody within the facility. So we need to understand that this is not your normal just going in and wiping things. Okay, we usually get our standards and go ahead. I'm sorry,
Bill, if I can interject, because now I'm paying close attention. One of the things that comes to mind here is that no cleaning protocol is perfect. That should be first and foremost in our heads. We do know that some sort of an appropriate cleaning will reduce the transmission of the coronavirus, but we're hearing terms, and I just got an email from a pretty major company a few minutes before this webinar that talked about deep cleaning. And the fact is that deep cleaning as a term, it isn't a scientific concept. And very likely deep cleaning means something different to different cleaning companies and different to different companies receiving that cleaning. So we have to be very careful about, you're going to talk about some do's and don'ts and words to not use, but I also think, and I don't know if it's on your slides, Bill, but deep cleaning, really, we have to be very, very careful of that particular terminology.
I agree, Dick, and I think that's a very important aspect that people need to understand. And we're going to get to this in a little bit when I talk about some of the legal risks. The words we use are very important, guys, and I have some examples. The sheet up here is the actual cleaning and disinfecting recommendations from the CDC. Dick hasn't mentioned this yet, but all of our slides that show any kind of sheets or reference guides or website linkages, Dick is going to be emailing out all of those links directly to you at the conclusion of this webinar. So you'll have all of the pertinent links available to you so you can download these documents for yourself. It's very important that you do that, okay? The next risk, as we discussed, is a legal risk. Anytime we start a new business segment or any new type of operations, especially if there are some unknown factors, we run some legal risks. If we make any mistakes by guaranteeing certain outcomes or by professing that we can do certain things that are not allowed to be professed, we're going to put ourselves in big, big trouble. So just a few of the things I want to bring up. What does your contract say about guarantees or success? Many of us have right to cure language in our contracts that if things happen where it doesn't come out perfectly, for instance, in a mold cleaning, if we don't pass the post testing for mold, we have the right to go back in and do the work again. Well, to the best of my knowledge, there is no testing that's been out there yet that can establish the presence of the virus within an environment. So how can we pre and post test to be able to hold ourselves to that? Without those guarantees, we're putting ourselves at risk. What happens if someone gets sick tomorrow after you clean the building today? Someone may have come into the building sick, reintroduced it into the structure. Does your language in your contracts account for that? We need to be really careful. There are a lot of cues, questions, but not a lot of answers at this point. So I just bring this up just to make sure that we're cognizant of all of these risks. Lastly, in terms of our risks, I want to talk about our personnel risks. This, again, is very, very important. We might be assuming that just because all of our employees are capable of going into sewage losses and capable of working in tight crawl spaces and in humid conditions, that they'll be perfectly fine working in this environment. Well, do we even know what we're asking them to put themselves in? Do we have the ability to understand the mindset that they are living under, where they might be very nervous about what's going on in this country and maybe don't want to expose themselves? We might be exposing our personnel to scenarios and situations where we don't have all the answers, yet we're asking them to trust us. That's pretty dangerous. Secondly, and more importantly, we might be asking them to do things that they're not accurately trained to do. This cleanup is much more akin to a biohazard cleaning than it is just to go in and do a simple cleanup after somebody had a cough or a cold or even got sick in a house. This is really severe cleaning, and there are some recommendations that we're going to talk about later that as a minimum your technician should have before you even think about introducing them in here. This isn't just, oh, go in, wipe down the surfaces and fog it. We may have seen a lot of that out there on the internet, especially in some of these chat rooms where guys are quote unquote killing it. But let's remember, that's not what this is, guys. That's not what this is. Finally, are you covered? I always worry about liability from an insurance standpoint as well. Almost all of us have the proper insurances so that we can operate in a restoration environment, making sure that should anything happen to either our employees or the building or the occupants of that building, we've got sufficient insurance as long as we're following proper protocols. Well, like we said before, there are no proper protocols for what we're going to be doing. And believe it or not, even if you do have pollution control liability insurance, more than half of these policies have either expressly excluded viruses or make no mention of viruses as being a covered loss when you do the work. So should you send someone in to do work and they get sick, or should someone get sick after you've worked on their building and they choose to want to sue you, be very careful. There's a really good chance that your own coverages will not cover you should you do this work. I've spent the last 3 or 4 days talking to lawyers in our industry and insurance writers for restoration companies. And these are the biggest areas of concern that they are coming back with. To that end, the lawyers have given me certain words that we should not be saying, either in our advertising or in our contracts themselves. The 4 key words we should not be saying are these: kill, sterilize, sanitize, and disinfect. Now, disinfect to me seems like the most innocuous one because we truly are disinfecting for that moment in time. But the lawyers are very concerned not about the legal definition of the word, but about the implication of using that word when we're trying to sell this particular service. Remember, guys, whenever there's an emergency or a major situation going on, like a cat, a lot of times the law enforcement officials look very down on companies who are looking to help others out because they have this feeling that they have to protect the public against those who are exploiting people for some gain, for some short-term gain. And in many situations, and Scott can attest to this, many, many times when responding to cats or responding to hurricanes, years later when it goes in court, the word doesn't mean as much as the implication of what you were leading the client to believe. So we need to be really careful about these words under this condition. Ordinarily, when we're doing mold work or when we're doing our normal cleaning work, these words would be fine because there's a normal expectation. But when it comes to this coronavirus situation, and we use these words and people don't understand that we could disinfect their building, and yet one day later, if the mailman comes and delivers mail to their house, that could generate a new infection within the facility. That's enough for them to come after us. They don't have that awareness. They're going to come after us. I'm just looking to protect all of us. Just understand, they can get you into trouble if someone tests positive within the building. So do yourself a favor. Make no guarantees. Avoid using words that imply safety or complete success in avoiding the risks. And always attach a disclaimer to your ads and your contracts. The disclaimer should read something like, please understand that this service is meant to provide a cleaning for a period of time. That period of time ends as soon as the first individual re-enters the property. Something like that protects you. Okay, I'm going to give you a couple examples of what I've found on the internet over the last couple of days. I've whited out the names of the companies, and if this happens to be your company, I'm not trying to embarrass anybody, and I'm not trying to get anybody in trouble. I don't disagree with the concept of trying to help others. I just want to point out some weaknesses in what I've seen as the advertising in order to point it out so you guys have some protection. Here's the first one. There's no disclaimer. If you look carefully at this ad, there's no disclaimer anywhere. There's nothing that says we will be cleaning or sanitizing or disinfecting for a short period of time. But far worse, there are a couple of words in here and a couple of sentence fragments that to me make this thing very dangerous. On the top, it says prevent the spread. We don't know if what we're going to do is going to prevent the spread in that building over the next day, 2 days, or a week. We can't make that assertion because we can't do that. Even if we put the word help in front, which they have, I still think, and the lawyers agree with me, that this is a very, very dangerous advertisement. On the bottom, where they want you to call to schedule your coronavirus disinfection service. Once again, guys, there is no proven way to advertise for a coronavirus disinfection, not this coronavirus. Yes, I've been told by many of the restorers that I'm working with, and I'm trying to dissuade them, they're all saying, well, this coronavirus is just the latest version, and I use this particular product X, which says is capable of killing coronavirus. But we all know that as of right now, the CDC does not have anything that they know has been tested to 100% completely kill and disinfect this virus. Yes, they have produced a list. I will be showing you where to get the link to that list later on in the presentation. But for right now, let's avoid using this term. Okay, very important. I didn't even highlight some of the other things that are in this ad where they say cleaned and disinfected. They use the term clean and disinfect several times. They use the term sanitized. All of those terms, again, lead me when I'm the reader to believe that my building is going to be safe and that I'm going to allow people back in. And that's where, if someone wants to start being nitpicky, we can give ourselves a little bit of trouble. This next ad, again, really nice job on this ad. And generally speaking, it's informative, it's helping people, and it's letting them know what kind of product they're using. And they're using lots of good language. The only problem is I've circled one paragraph I would love for you guys to kind of address. There's two parts in that paragraph that I think should have been worded differently. Protecting people and the community against the coronavirus. If you put that in your ad, you're telling your client that your product will protect people against it. Now, if anybody in that facility gets it, they're coming after you. It's really simple. Secondly, products shown to kill the virus. Once again, there are no products shown to kill this virus yet. That changes on a day-to-day basis, but as of the recording of this webinar, which is on the 19th of March, there is no product shown to kill this virus. Yes, they kill sister viruses, similar viruses, but not this virus. So please be careful in how you're advertising. Let me give you a couple of tips on how you can use wording that makes it sound really good, but doesn't give you the same liability. Once again, these are lawyer-approved wordings. We can help mitigate the risk in your building. We are a mitigation company. The easiest word to use is mitigate, lessen the risk. So we can help mitigate the risk in your building. I didn't refer the risk of coronavirus, the risk, I just said mitigate the risk. I keep it very general. Secondly, we will apply a hospital-grade, EPA-registered disinfectant. If you want to use the term disinfect, this is how you need to word it. Do not say anything about its efficacy in killing the virus. Hospital-grade, EPA-registered. Those are accurate terms as long as you are using such products. Please understand the difference here. It might just sound like semantics to some of you, but from a legal perspective, these are the differences between being covered in what you're doing and not being covered in what you're doing. I'm going to show you some important links that all of you should be looking at every day to help guide your business and to help understand the mindset of your employees and your clients. Because as Dick can tell you from a marketing perspective, one of the quickest ways to lose business is to not understand the needs of your clients. Dick, can you spend a minute or two before we actually get into these links themselves? Can you just talk about expectations and mindset of a client and why our scripts need to change sometimes? That would be great if you could do that.
Sure. One of the things that I've had many conversations with the Crest members and some non-Crest members this past week, and I'm certainly encouraging these contractors to offer and encourage their commercial property clients to engage in some sort of a, and I'm going to use the word is in quotes, deep cleaning and using an appropriate hospital grade products. But the question that kept coming up is, well, who's going to want this service? Can I provide this service? And I believe that we've talked about cautions. Are you really skilled and prepared and qualified to offer these particular services in your particular cleaning company? But in order for you to have those opportunities with with potential clients, you need to maintain a very active dialogue with those clients and those potential clients so that you understand their concerns and what their expectations are. You also want to talk to them about their restrictions. Some of them may have very clear restrictions before you could implement a cleaning protocol. And I'm aware, because I've worked with contractors for many, many years on going after the commercial segment with a prep program, that initially many of them target hotels and nursing homes. But one of the things that we're also aware of is that most hotels and nursing homes have some sort of a cleaning staff that may or may not think they're capable of that level of cleaning. And so you certainly can approach them. But let's talk about some examples of some of those commercial clients that really don't have a formal, trained, legitimate cleaning staff on payroll. And those would be companies such as daycare facilities, churches, or other religious organizations. Yeah, they have, everybody has the janitor that comes in once a week and empties waste baskets and fills the toilet paper rolls, but churches really don't have a protocol. And if they are in areas of the country where they're still meeting, certainly they would be excellent targets. Also, and a little more challenging, is municipal, city, county, and state buildings. It might be quite challenging to get some state and or federal buildings unless you're already on their lists, but others such as beauty salons that are open, tattoo parlors that are open, restaurants that are open, and there are a number here in Florida. Restaurants can remain open. They just have to seat their patrons 6 or 7 feet apart. I was in a doctor's office this morning. Normally 30 chairs in the waiting room, there were only 10 because the doctor said, hey, we can only have 10 people congregated at a time. So restaurants, any other retail business that's currently open to the public is an excellent target for those of you that are qualified to offer those kinds of cleaning protocols. That's all I have, Bill, on that.
I appreciate it, Dick. Thank you. Guys, I just want to show you a couple of links that you should be looking at. First one here is put up by Johns Hopkins University. It's kind of a running chart of what's going on with the virus throughout the world. We have to take the data on here with a grain of salt because it's self-reported by each country. So if you don't trust the data coming out of a country, then you can't trust the results on these pages. But suffice it to say that the pandemic is real because it is in over 130 countries, I believe, as of today. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, has a link to the coronavirus disease and all the latest news on here as well. Like I said before, we're going to be sending out a list with all of these links in email so that you could just click on it and get to these pages. Very important for us as restorers, the EPA is publishing a list. They call it List N. These are disinfectants that they have approved for use against this particular strain of the coronavirus. If you're not sure if your disinfectant that you're using is on the list, make sure you check out this website. It's very important. They've updated it twice already. I believe it first came out on March 2nd with an update on March 13th. To date, I believe there are upwards of 400 approved disinfectants. Many of them are household type disinfectants, but there are many that we use every day in our industry that are on this list. Very important. Please go on there and check that out as well. Another really important, understandable concern is the health and safety of all workers and the qualifications for the workers. Well, here's a link to the American Biorecovery Association, which is a letter of interpretation issued back in September 2019. So before the coronavirus, this latest coronavirus hit. But it's a letter of interpretation that OSHA put out for the minimum allowable standards for people to treat this type of work. So it's literally for any kind of biohazards involving viruses or pathogens that can get others sick. Very important. This is a many-page letter of interpretation. I will give you the Cliff Notes version. It basically says if you and your staff have not received HAZWOP 4D training, you probably should not be out there professing that you can help out in the cleaning and disinfecting of this particular virus. So very important to read this, put yourself in a good position to be able to make a determination. Finally, this slide was just added literally minutes before we started our presentation because the RIA had a presentation going on at 1 o'clock today, giving everybody in the industry an update. And they have just published this preliminary report in conjunction with the IICRC, giving advice and suggestions to restorers who are thinking about assisting clients with their COVID concerns. This is a very, very detailed 10-page preliminary report. And this was put together by all of the experts within the RIA and IICRC, including the members of the IICRC 410, which is an infection control standard for commercial structures. They were on there. It's 10 minutes, it's 10 pages long, about a 30-minute read, and it is a very in-depth with many ideas relating on how to address your staffing, how to address your operational ideas, and how to address your insurance and legal needs. So it's a very good comprehensive guide. Even if you are not an RIA member, this link will be live for everyone. They felt it was this important that they're allowing everybody in the industry access to it. So like I said, when Dick emails out to all of you at the end of this presentation, you will have the links for all of these. It's very important to use these to educate yourselves. Our purpose today was just to try to give you a little bit of a primer on the worries and concerns that are out there from an operational standpoint and a legal standpoint to protect you, the owners, and to help you protect your staffs, your families, and your company. At this time, we will open it up to any questions. If you have, just unclick your mic and please ask. If not, we'll wait a couple of seconds and then we will finish the presentation. If you do want to ask a question, please click on your mic and please announce your name before you ask the question.
Bill, I want to add a last thought before anybody else jumps on. One of the things that struck me is that as an employer, as a contractor employer, I think, many of you are certainly supporting work at home arrangements where that's possible and appropriate, maybe certainly from your admin staff. They obviously need a flexible work-life balance. And every single one of your employees and the staff that are affected in their family is that they're dealing with modified school hours, if any, or no school hours, which changes life at home. They're dealing with medical appointments and other scheduling conflicts. And so certainly, and this has been said by 50 talking heads way before me, that you probably need to be canceling or postponing any non-essential travel and any other meetings and conferences, but also your internal meetings probably need to be dramatically limited. And I strongly encourage hosting virtual meetings, conference calls with your staff that so multiple people can be on at once. Just my thoughts on that. Scott Tarpley, I'm actively unmuting you so that you can throw in your last words. Maybe, there we go.
Good deal. I agree with everything that's been said here, and I lead by example. All of our admin staff are optional to come into the office or stay at home. Most of them have opted to stay at home and work. I live, my wife has had, she's got upper respiratory illnesses. So we've got her in isolation or seclusion or whatever word you want to, house arrest, whatever you want to call it. But she and I have sort of hunkered down and had to tell the grandkids we love them, but we'll talk to you in a few weeks, you know. So you've got to be careful about that. And when you're thinking about sending not only yourself, but your employees into these situations, make sure you know who they're living with and who they're sending, or you talk to them about that. Because if you got an employee that's going home and living with grandma and, you know, she's already got problems, or somebody over 60 or 65 that's in that high risk category, these are people that, you know, if they get sick, they're in real danger. Now, up until 3 days ago, you know, every young person in the country thought, it's not going to hurt me. You know, it's coronavirus. I'll put a lime on it and we'll go on down the street. And that's what we all thought. But now they're reporting that over 20% of the people that are being admitted into the ICU and into the hospital are kids. I mean, they're from 20 to 25, 28 years old, somewhere in that range. Now, here's what that does for the rest of us. They're kids and they're 25 years old, but their mortality rate, the ones that go in the hospital, the mortality rate is less than 1%. So they survive. So here's the question. If they've got 5 ventilators and they've got, let's say 6, let's make it an even number, 6 ventilators, they got 6 young people in there and 6 old people in there, who's going to get the ventilators? Well, the young people are going to get the ventilators because they're sure they're going to live if they treat them. So that's the thing, the situation we don't want to put our people in, people that have, you know, compromised immune systems, people that have respiratory problems, they have asthma, they have some type of lung irritant or something. So make sure you know who you're sending where. Now, it's all right. I'm going to wear my PPE and I'm going to go in. But if you've studied your PPE, most of the masks, unless you're in biohazards, most of the full face respirators with the highfalutin chemical and everything filter you can get, it filters out down to 3 microns. And by golly, that's good until you're dealing with coronavirus, because it happens to be 1.5 microns. So that filter is not doing very well. You see every nurse and doctor on TV wearing a dust mask. It's an N95, but okay, it's still a dust mask. There's no tight fitting. Why? Because it don't matter. The respirators aren't going to help you that much anyway. But they'll help you when you're spraying your disinfectant. If you're spraying a disinfectant or your cleaner, they're going to help you there. But they're not really going to help you when it comes to the virus itself. Now, the good part about it, don't stay airborne very long. And they finally started to put out the statistics that how long it lives. It lives, you know, up to 3 hours in the air, 30 minutes to 3 hours. It gets less deadly the longer it is. It lives 2 hours on cardboard. It lives 3 hours on stainless steel, and a little bit longer on plastic. 2 days on stainless steel and 3 days on plastic. Okay. So it takes this stuff a while to die. But be careful when you're sending your folks in. Make sure you're not sending high risk folks in, regardless of what kind of suits they're wearing. And money's important. And I know we're all losing money right now because not a lot of people doing work, but just, be careful with what you do, and let's try to help you folks as.
Thanks, Scott. Bill, are you there?
I am here. Before we head out, I just wanted to say one last thing, guys. Dick and I have been putting together next week's presentation for the Tuesday morning webinar, and normally it would be a Q&A session. What we're going to do, just to keep things a little timely and make it a little different, next week the topic is going to be helping your business survive the coronavirus. We're going to put some simple tips together for some really tough decisions you may be needing to make in the near future regarding staffing levels and accommodating business and working in your own restoration environments. We've been working really hard on this, and we think we can give you some really good tips on ways that your business can handle this downturn the way that every business in the country is suffering through right now. And we just want to be able to provide that resource to you. So we'll be pushing back our normal Q&A, which is the fourth Tuesday of every month. That'll be pushed back to the following Tuesday, which happens to be a fifth Tuesday. So March 24th, the normal 10 a.m. webinar will be about helping your business survive the coronavirus.
Bill, my email and your email, for that matter, are both on the screen right now. And what I want to say is that there are a number of attendees of this webinar, a significant number that I don't recognize the name. It could be that they're an employee of a Crest company, Crest member company. Could be that you got the link from somebody else and join. So if you want to receive the email list with all of those live links on it, please email me at dick@thecrestnetwork.com, and I will include you in that mailing later today. Also, this video or a webinar which we are recording will be posted on the crestnetwork.com website on the public side so that everybody can see it. You don't have to be a member of the Crest Network to log in and go behind the curtain. It'll be that link will be to this webinar will be put on the front page of our website. That's all I have, Bill.
I appreciate it, Dick. If anybody has any questions, now would be the time to ask.
Would you guys mind posting the 4 things that we're not supposed to say, the 4 words?
Absolutely. Let me slide back there. If I can get the slideshow back there real quick. There we go. This is, again, a lawyer that works with a lot of restoration companies said in this particular instance, these are words we use all the time, but in this particular instance, until we know for sure that any of our products actually do these things, let's refrain from using these words. Kill, sterilize, sanitize, or disinfect.
And Bill, that list N, N as in Nancy, list N that is published, it says that it kills the coronavirus, but it specifically says the coronavirus 2. It does not say the coronavirus or COVID-19. Coronavirus 2 is one of the strains that they identified several years ago. This particular coronavirus is referred to as a novel coronavirus because they don't have any information on it yet.
That is correct. The greatest assumption that they're making is that the products that have worked in the past on similar strains are ones we can use now. And if once you get to that list N, you'll notice that there are 50 or so products put out by the Clorox company because they're assuming that ammonia bleach will be a successful disinfectant. We're just, again, guys, once we know that it's established that certain products are effective, I will have no problem coming out and sending everybody an email saying, now you can say that we can kill the coronavirus. That's all great. I'm just talking about this window in time right now where there's a little bit of panic and a little bit of frenzy and a lot of uncertainty. The government does not like when companies put things out there during times of uncertainty that can be interpreted as being certain. And that's all we're trying to do, just protect everybody's interests here. And I'd rather err on the caution of using the word clean or mitigate as opposed to using any of these words. That's all.
Anybody else have any other questions? I don't see any other microphones being unmuted, so I think we're in good shape, Bill. I think we can do this as a wrap and we'll get it up on the website.
Terrific. I appreciate you, Dick. Thank you so much. Scott, thank you so much. And thank everyone for attending. Again, I appreciate everyone's time. And please stay safe. May your families and your staff stay safe. And we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.